This is the Mechanical Care Forum, and it's season 14. This season, we're capitalizing on the natural happenings of the day. We're talking shop on things related to mechanical assessment and patient treatment in the musculoskeletal therapy space with special guests on the ride home. Today, we're joined by Dana Greene, discussing the challenges and enjoyment of private practice, spine screening, headaches, patients plateauing, and mentoring. All this on the ride home. Today on MCF. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast for season 14. There have been several occasions in my career where I've had the opportunity to spend some time with some very talented clinicians. I'm referring to times where I've sat down and had a discussion with a colleague after a patient encounter and discussed the situation. I've also had a chance to travel with some pretty amazing mechanically trained therapists on one of our humanitarian efforts and chat about a patient we saw that day. Or I've connected on the phone with a faculty member who had a memorable patient response in their physical exam that way. Some of these moments have been where I've drawn a clinical pearl or two, which has, in small ways, added to what has and continues to make me into the clinician I am today. So this season, I'm catching my guests after they've had a typical day in the clinic or in their work, and we're using the natural course of the day to be the content we draw from, to take some small things away and further inspire and improve our knowledge and motivation, or just to put things back in perspective on the ride home. Don't worry, we'll keep our eyes on the road and our hands on the wheel and just have a discussion. So buckle up and tag along with us. This episode is brought to you by Atlas Health. Atlas Health is a web-based exercise and education delivery system tailor-made for those of us who use specific end-range repeated movements. Are you still drawing stick figures or using photocopies or a still photo or the closest thing you can find on Google? Are some of your patients coming back and doing them wrong or doing something completely different? If you do, you can appreciate how if more of your patients were doing them right the first time, they'd likely be doing better. Atlas Health is the future of patient guidance between sessions. It's a digital platform with meticulously precise animation, education, and clinician modifiable instruction. In short, it's a better way to deliver exercise and education. Look like the professional you're trying to portray and improve the impression you give your patients. Reduce the lost time when patients get it wrong and enhance the delivery of your care with Atlas Health. Visit atlashealthx.com to see a demo. And just for MCF listeners, use the code ATLASMCF25 for immediate access and a free trial for 25 patients. Go to atlashealthx.com/MCF and get started today. This episode is also brought to you by Therafa. Therafa is a front-end patient intake digital platform to obtain a great portion of the medical history and pertinent symptom history from your patient. Think of it as a way to polish up your intake process with your patients. Capture the relevant information like the history of present illness, symptoms presentation and variation, social history, a review of systems, and the pain assessment. It's like having a digital assistant to help you get all the important information to set you up for a more efficient initial evaluation. And it creates a perception of professionalism for your new patients when they need every reason to quickly develop trust in you. In my opinion, after using Therafa for several months, it's ideal for the busy clinic where time is of the essence. Right now, the CEO and founder of Therafa has a super generous deal, only for MCF listeners. You get 2 months, full access, totally free. Just go to therafa.com/join/MCF. All right, let's get on with it today with my guest, Dana Greene. He's a PT, a diplomaed clinician in MDT, an MDT faculty with the McKinsey Institute USA, a private practice owner in Central New York, USA. Come along with us on the ride home. So, welcome back to the podcast. Mr. Dana Greene, excited to have you join us today with this theme of On My Ride Home, which you can tell. I'm going to watch the road here while I talk to you. Don't worry.
All right.
Thanks for hopping on here with us.
2 hands on the wheel.
That's right. You got it. I'm catching you at the end of the day, but I want to know, when you're not talking to me or listening to the podcast, of course, what do you do on your drive home, Dana?
So, I still leave the office exhausted every day. I really do. I say it all the time. If you're doing your job well, you probably should be pretty exhausted. So, I'm going to put on some music right now. When I get in, I'm listening to Bruce Springsteen's autobiography is what I'm listening to right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So I do books on tape, music usually, but I come across this and I've been interested in that. So just try to decompress, forget the day, get on with it. I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing. Like when I am at work, I try to be all in,
Yeah.
and then when I walk out, nothing I can do about it now, right? It's
Right.
done. So I try to put my head in another place and walk in the door and try not to think about work and have a good night.
Yeah. Dana, was there a time where you had trouble with that?
Yeah, 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 probably. I mean, I've gotten better. You think about, well, at the beginning, right? You don't know what you're doing. I mean, I have no problem saying. I mean, that's.
Do you now, though? Do you now?
I'm sorry.
Do you
Right
now?
now,
Yeah.
probably not. But at least I have a sense that I do. Yeah. And then I
Right.
knew, like, there was no questions I didn't know. So you're driving a million things you're thinking about. What should
Yeah.
I do with this one? What should I do with that one? Now, if nothing else, MDT gives us structure, right?
Yeah.
Structure. So, all right, I got a classification. I know what to do. If he doesn't come back better, I know it. But I'm not thinking about that at night. Not to, every now and again, there's someone that's on your mind, someone that might go south, someone, you possible surgical candidate, someone you're thinking about, worrying about, someone you gave your phone number, call me if things go bad. But I'm pretty good at this point. Is just like I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. My wife asks me every how's work. I'm like, oh, it's good. It's good. It's always good.
Let's talk about Bruce Springsteen, right?
Yeah, right. I got a job to go to. It's good.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. All right. So give people who may have not been introduced to you, might be listening to the podcast newer or whatever, just a glimpse of what you do, where you are, and just your different professional responsibilities.
So I have a partner, Michael Hope, and I. We own Summit Physical Therapy. We've got 4 offices in Central New York. Um, I was talking to one of our therapists, our most recently hired therapist. We're talking about time off or something, and I said, if you haven't noticed, I'm not a real good manager. Okay, I got my own schedule, my own day, so I function much like a staff therapist. I mean, I
Right.
always said to our therapist when I hire them, I like, you've got your own private practice, right? For good or for bad. I'm not a micromanager. We want these patients happy. I obviously want you to use MDT as your first line of self-defense with these people. But you got your own day, So at the end of the day, how's your private practice going? Are you successful? Are people coming in for you? If they're not, what's the problem? But I got my own day. I'm looking. I got a full day. I treat patients all day, every day. That Monday through Friday. Now I work 9 hours, 9 hours straight. I started taking Fridays off a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So it's 4 9 hours. So I'm booked beginning to end. No gaps in the schedule. So I'm treating patients just like everybody else. That's why I say when I teach the class, I'm not talking, theoretical. I'm not an academist. I'm a clinician just like you guys have the same struggles. You guys got some of the same patients from hell you have, and you got them, man. When you look at that schedule in the morning and you see that name and you're like, oh, you know, not today. And when they cancel, like, how happy are you, right? Like, so I got those same struggles. So I'm seeing patients, but yeah, we got 4 offices. So ultimately, Michael and I are responsible for the running of those 4 offices. He's honestly much better at it than I am. Stays on top of it better than I do.
Yeah.
I kind of the office. Only at one of the offices, so I try to you take care of this, and we'll put out fires at another office and whatnot. But we're real lucky too. We got good people working for us, so they self-manage and take care of things. We got at each office there's a therapist who's responsible for that office, and they do a good job. Lauren Streck and Aaron take care of the 2 offices, and Michael's at another office. So 4 offices, someone's overseeing each of them. And, we try to keep everything right. But by and large, I'm treating patients and making sure business goes good.
Yeah. How many? You're teaching courses, of course. You've taught how
Teaching
many
courses
years?
about once a month. Yep, about once a month. I've been doing that for 1993. So 31 years I've been teaching the classes. Yeah, about once a
Unbelievable.
month. That's crazy. And I've been a therapist 38 years. I moved to Syracuse in 1997 from Buffalo, Western New York. And I worked for Wayne Rath. Yeah, Wayne Rath was my mentor, hired me. Great influence on my career and life. And Michael and I met. We were both working for Wayne, and then in 2001, Wayne came to us and asked us if we wanted to buy the office. So that was our original office on James Street was the original Summit Physical Therapy, and we've since opened 3 others, and yeah.
Some people talk about, Dana, the challenges of making it with one office, and so they get larger. And then I've heard other people say, "Oh, yeah, I used to have multiple offices, and now I went down to one and keep it simple." What do you think?
Amen. And yes, yeah, 100%. I get it. In Syracuse, our reimbursement hasn't gone up in 20 years. Because Michael and I have had the conversation how simple it was before, how nice it was. They have everything self-contained within one office. But, I think by and large, our salary would be half of what it is now if we had the one office. Now, if we had a different office, that's okay, but we were limited by space, how much we could grow, how many clinicians we could have. So,
Yeah.
the growth has been kind of organic, it's just kind of happened uh, coincidence, somebody's looking for an opportunity. Someone asks about, hey, listen, could you provide some service here? Just been really organic going that way. So it's almost a necessity. We've gotten bigger and bigger and just kind of to stay level,
Yeah.
but there's no question if I could have one space, it's as much of an overhead down, right? It's just, I see both sides of it.
No,
I
yeah.
think different parts of the country are different too. I mean, I don't think everyone's is down on the profession and life and work as much as I am, because I mean, when I talk to people in classes, that their reimbursement's twice of what ours is, and we think, oh, or more. I think, oh my,
Really?
without question, I think, oh my God, if that was our reimbursement, we were making twice as much we make, or did half the work and make like life would be good. But yeah, I mean, it's about $50, $55 a visit is what we average with all the insurances. Yeah.
Seems quite low.
Yeah, it is what we are. We're nationally really low.
Yeah. Wow. Uh,
So you got to hustle. So we got to hustle.
yeah. 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 So you'll see how many patients in a day?
So today I saw 17, I think 17. So a 9 hour day, it's 45 minutes for an IE, half hour for a follow up. Now and again, depending on who the patient is, and I know I could double up somebody or whatnot. But yeah, I try to have, and I limit my new ones to 3 a day just because they take up more time and I got to have somewhere to put the follow ups.
Yep.
It's usually 2 or 3 new patients a day, and a total of about 17 or 18 patients.
Then you learned this method long, long ago, early in your career.
When did I learn it?
Yeah, MDT. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a therapist for a year. We probably had this conversation when I was first on with you, but
Yeah.
I was so disillusioned with the field, and it's like I wasn't effective. People that were treating patients, I didn't believe what they said. It was all theoretical. You're moving this bone, this muscle's weak, this muscle's long. I'm like, maybe, but how do you know? It's
Yeah.
like I didn't buy it. And out of school a year, and I said, well, and my only experience was at the hospital. I said, well, maybe I
Yeah.
should run the hospital. So I took the GMATs, applied to MBA school, got accepted to MBA school, and I went for one night. It's God's honest truth. One night of MBA school, but I had just taken Part A.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in Part A. Wainwrath was the instructor, thinking this guy knows what the hell he's doing. Like he's the only one that's impressed upon me that there's some honesty, some logic, and an effective approach. They brought patients in. They came back on subsequent days. I'm like, I want to be him.
Mm.
And so that was in 1987, and I did the diploma in 1990, and been teaching since January 1993. So
The
I was
reason why,
very lucky to be exposed to it early.
yeah, yeah, you sure were. The reason why I asked that question is because I'm thinking if you didn't have a structure like this, can you imagine seeing 17 patients in a day?
Oh my God. Well, yeah, I think people see more patients
Well,
without the
sure.
structure, but it's all, it's like, hey, how you doing? Do this. Yeah, people are all over the place and they're just exercise. It's like the gym, it's like,
Yeah.
and that's why I get so upset when I'm teaching and I'm talking to therapists. I'm like you guys go to school now for a long time. You got a nice big student loan, right? You guys got to be able to do better than the guys at Gold's Gym.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you got to be able to do better than that. And not to criticize them, but they don't know what we know.
Yeah.
It's not as though this is good for back pain, this is bad for back pain. What kind of back pain do you have?
Yeah.
Right? One of my patients told me a story. She was doing pickleball. Everyone's doing pickleball now. She goes in
Yeah, they
between
are.
games. She goes, I'm laying on the ground doing some press ups. And a guy who happens to be a chiropractor could have just as easily been a physical therapist who also plays pickleball. He sees her doing her press ups. He goes, "That's bad for your back." So she told me that. I go, does everybody just have to really reveal their ignorance? Like it's bad for some backs, and
Yeah.
some backs it's good for. But to not know anything about it and say that's bad for back pain,
Yeah.
like wow, you must be one hell of a clinician, brother. Well, but so like that, but this system allows us to put the patient in the different boxes and treat them appropriately. But I couldn't imagine without, well, I know that I wouldn't be here, right? I'd have my MBA
Yeah.
because I was just so, it's just, I can't do this, just this
Yeah.
hodgepodge of stuff. And as you say, could you imagine doing it for 38 years, just kind of figuring out, kind of faking it more or less, like, well, we do this, we do this, we do this, final, they leave, they're happy, you put some heat on them, you rub them a little bit. Man, if you don't know what you're doing, you better use modalities. You better do something to put a smile on their face, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I remember, you talking about the structure and how it saved you kind of from leaving the industry. And I've heard that many people talk about
Yeah,
that
yeah,
for
yeah.
years. So I appreciate that. Now, all right, now let's think about just today.
Yes.
A patient that stands out in your mind that kind of reinforces that, or that's puzzled you. Who are
Yeah.
you thinking of?
So the what reinforces it. I treated a woman, and her and I got off, evaluated her. We got off real good start. I ask everybody. So I'm very lucky. Probably a lot of people are now at this point doing it for a while, but I only will treat people who ask for me specifically on the phone. So everybody who walks in, I say, "How'd you end up with me?" And she go, "Oh, you treated my daughter told me you treated my granddaughter." And I go, "Oh yeah, yeah, I know who she is." I tell her I said hello. So immediately she likes me. I fixed her granddaughter. So we're at, and so I can push her a little bit. I can tease her a little bit. I can um, just have a little bit more fun with her. So she's had this pain for 2 years in her hip down her leg, and she's had injections, she's had MRIs, she's had tests, and none of which I care about. But she wants to keep telling me about I'm not going to look at that damn MRI. I go, you had it. It means you don't have cancer, you don't have a fracture, there's no tumor, you're safe to be here, right? So, but it's not going to tell me how to treat you. And she's had injections that haven't worked, and I sit her, and she said her pain is constant. That hip pain is constant. And I go, if it goes away today, will it get your attention? She goes, damn right, it'll get my attention. So I sat her up straight, and she goes, it's not there.
Too
And I go,
easy.
did that get your attention? She goes, son, yeah. She goes, yeah. She goes, it's always there. I go, it's not there now. So, but as I pushed her into extension, it actually started to get worse.
Yeah.
She had a relevant lateral component. She did side gliding, and she left pain free. Like it's the trusting the system, right? And as we used to talk about the 15 common problems on Part C, and 15.1 was confidence in the system, trusting the system. And when you're new to it or a novice with it, everybody will look at press ups, and if it doesn't centralize and abolish it, well, you're not a McKenzie patient, or you don't fit the system. And as opposed to really trusting it and going through the steps. And but yeah, it's clearly made a difference in my life, and so it's fun. So that reinforces. It's you and I were talking briefly before we went on. There are days like it's the best job going. People walk, and I walk out of the office and I'm like, man, let the sun beam on me. It's like bring the masses in because I can fix them.
Yeah.
There are the days you walk out of the office and you're like, I don't think I should have. Not only do I think I should have not got paid today, I don't think I helped anybody.
Yeah.
But everybody bothered me and aggravated me on top of it, right? And so there's days that I think it's very unappreciated that we've got a tough job. You got to get patients, you got to get them on board with you psychologically. You got to get them motivated. You got to make them see the cause and effect of what we do. Because what we're asking them to do is not easy. If it was easy, no one, we wouldn't have chronic low back pain. People wouldn't be, suffering for months. It's not easy to change habits, to change posture, to exercise regularly throughout the course of the day.
Mhm.
One guy, so he's a great guy. I thought I was going to see him for about 5, 6 visits. We'd be done. We're well past that, and he's a great guy. But guess what? Today he told me he worked a chainsaw for 3 hours in the backyard this weekend, and and I mean I just can't land the plane with him. And he said to me today, he goes, you said if this doesn't work, like, where do we go next? And I go, no, I didn't say that because this is working. You're messing it up. I go,
Yeah.
you walk out of here better every time. I go, but it's like if I put you in an ankle brace for your sprained ankle and you leave here and go run on the ankle. You're doing things that your back can't tolerate right now. Well, they got to get done. I go, okay, but realize it's either going to take longer to get better, which is okay. Um, but it may stop it from getting better. Then you go down a real bad road because everyone's going to have that miracle cure for you. Oh, therapy didn't work for you? Oh, let's do injections. Guess what? The injections aren't going to work either because you're going to keep operating a chainsaw and working like an animal in the yard. So they're not going to help you. And then, oh, surgery will help you. None of which is required. You should just do what the heck I tell you to do now. Like you're always better. And it's consistently. So what we did, because he told me this last week, I go, we can't keep, because there's no reason he shouldn't be better. I go, we'll see you, once a week. You know what to do. You should be better. Last few days, he goes, I had the best 2 days ever after our visit, but then it comes back. Best 2 days ever after. Well, he starts getting a little lax with his program, and the weekend rolls around and he kills himself. And I go, either we should stop seeing you because I got nothing else to offer you. I can't keep saying the same thing over and over, or I should see you more frequently. Because if you're telling me it's good for 2 days, then let's get you in here 2 days from now. If you can be good, let's see if we can build some. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over. Either stop coming because you're making me crazy, and and I don't know, and it's all about me, Jason. You're making me nuts. Or to see you, and let's land the plane. So he's going to come in 2 days. He left again. Great today. Goes, it feels really good. I go, yeah, I know, it always does. But you're doing the opposite. They're like, sometimes I'm at a loss of how to make it more clear to explain this. I like the disc model. I like the disc model. I use it. Patients understand it. They like it. And as far as the research, I don't care what the research says. The way we do it decreases patient anxiety. It doesn't increase it. That's why I do it. When you see their face, oh my God, that makes perfect. How come nobody told me this before? Yeah. I guess they don't want to make you anxious. And in the meantime, you've been nothing but anxious because no one gives you an answer. So I use it. I use deposits, withdrawals in the checking account. I use, filling up the gas tank, all the analogies I can. Hopefully something's going to, but when it doesn't happen, I don't know what else to say. It's like, I guess keep chopping trees down and it's going to keep hurting. We want to get you to the point you can do that so it doesn't hurt. The cut knuckle, the doctor who split your knuckle, not saying you can't ever do it again. I've pulled them all out. And now I'm just, okay, maybe you're going to keep hurting for a little while. Maybe you'll incrementally get better slowly and gradually. But yeah, so frustrating at times.
Yeah. I wonder if a non-MDT clinician or just a younger clinician thinks it's all about, well, if I put my hands in the right place.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Better.
Yeah, they do.
I thought that too. I thought, man, there's no way. I remember reading some of Resnick's work early on, hearing about how influential Therapeutic Alliance was on the outcome. And I'm like, what? Just because somebody likes me, they're going to do well? No, I'm going to learn the right technique. And when I put my hands on them just right, then they're going to get well. And here we are realizing, oh, okay.
100%. And I'm sure someone's brought this up if you didn't hear it directly from Robin. But when they had our conference in New Zealand, prior to it was a day with Mackenzie. The most important thing you can do after all my years of seeing patients is just gain that patient's confidence on day one. 100%. Yeah. And that's where I am now. It's not so much, mechanically what's required, what's the classification, because we all feel like we get a good sense of that. You do this long enough, okay, it's this, but making the patient do it at home, gaining what's the psychology required for this patient, how do I connect with this patient, and that seems to be, are you going to take it up another level in your practice, connecting with that patient?
Well, and I know that people just rave about your courses and how they're just, their abs are sore the day after because they've been laughing so hard.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. They may not learn a damn thing, but at least they laugh.
That's right. They didn't learn.
When you don't know anything, tell a joke.
That's right. But I remember David Poulter talking about how he purposely, intentionally tries to get the patient to laugh about 5 times in that first visit. And there's something about connecting. And I don't know if you're that thoughtful about it. Have you changed in how you interject humor over the years? Have you always done it?
Well, in all honesty, I've got to be a little bit more politically correct over the years.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think we're all friends. We're all having fun. I want to make you laugh a little bit. We're all adults.
Yeah.
And, that may all be true, but I know we're in a different environment too. Gotcha. we are. And so that's in the back of my mind every now and again that I just I like to say, like I say, just make somebody laugh. Nobody is happy. No one wants to be in therapy. No one's happy they've got their back pain. Can you lighten the mood a little bit? Yeah, I like to do that. I like to do it for me. I like the day
Yeah.
can get boring. The day, so we can laugh with someone, connect with somebody. Doesn't always work my way. Sometimes it, backfires a bit, but I don't think anyone's perfect, and I'm getting better at it. I,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, doesn't always go right.
Hey, did you see any extremity patients and you deferred a spinal screening?
Uh, it's real funny you bring that up because I was thinking about things, you talk about interesting patients and whatnot. The only time I think I would defer that is if, there was obvious trauma to the extremity joint, there's local swelling, there's a fracture. I mean, it's just, but in lieu of that, I'm going to do at least a brief one. I think, Richard Rosedale's work has clarified so much for us. I know I'm such a better clinician because of it. Give a little structure to the clearing the spine. Um, seeing things in the thoracic spine that I would have never looked at before.
Right.
It's been a lot of fun. And I tell patients, you talk about trying to connect with them. I'll be like, you're real lucky you came here. I go, because no one else was going to figure this out. I go, no one else was going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I figured it out, and we're going to get this thing better. And you're right. And whether it's shoulder pain from the thoracic spine or whatever, it's like no one ever looked. And that's where I talk and talk a lot, seeing these patients, and I go, listen, I can make mistakes, the doctors can, the x-rays can. Your body won't. Someone's just got to be interested enough to move and ask you the right questions. I go, your shoulder surgeon over there, he might be one hell of a shoulder surgeon, but did he look at your neck? Because those questions always come up on the course. If you see someone's got a spinal source of pain, but their surgeon said it was a shoulder, the hip, to me, it's a non-issue. The patient says, well, geez, the doctor said it was my shoulder. That's well and fine. Did he look at your neck? No, well, then how would he know? You listen. You think I want to do this? You think I want to look at your shoulder, your neck? They want to take all it's standard practice. This is what we need to do.
Mm.
So, and as I say in the classes, if you can walk in the office interested, you're better than 90% of the people out there. 95% if you're just interested. Have somewhat of a now. If you know that can cause shoulder pain, all right, let's get some shoulder baselines and let's move the neck. It changed. Well, it must be. It didn't change. Okay, well, let's look at the shoulder. And I think that works against us in the sense that this isn't all that complicated, right? Our concepts are pretty simple, and there's a lot of smart people out there who think it's got to be a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And I think they overthink it, and I don't think they're good clinicians. I'm sure they got a better SAT score and a higher IQ score than I had, but they can't treat a patient. There's a little common, like it's MDT. Again, consider the source, but it's just made life so much simpler for the clinician and so much better for the patient. Patients are getting answers for their problems where they didn't have them before. People didn't look at the spine like we do now. Like I wasn't doing initially. I thought I was doing a good job with, I wasn't clearing like I should. And my error early on was I wasn't good at getting good extremity baselines before I looked at the spine. I wanted it to be the spine. So if you had shoulder pain here, let's do some of these, and it would change was hard to see.
Yeah.
As opposed to, okay, you got pain in the shoulder. Where's your limitations? What can't you do? Just some real simple things, active range of motion, maybe a couple of resisted tests, find a baseline, hurts when I pick up my perth, and then move the neck and recheck it. Like, how much intelligence is required to do that? But no one looks, So I don't throw anyone under the bus. I don't, well, they're wrong. They're this. Did they look? If they didn't look, how would they know? If Dr. So-and-so was with us in the room and observed the proceedings, he said, well, it must be the neck. We didn't do it. And I don't blame him. Okay, it's my job. I'm going to do it. Right. But yeah. So I don't. So by and large, excluding a blunt force, bruising, effusion, swelling, I'm going to look at this spine because I've learned you can't tell. Sometimes you just can't tell.
Yeah.
We all think we can. We all think we know what tennis elbow looks like. We all think with a rotator. No, you don't.
It'll fool you.
It'll fool you. It'll fool you.
So talk about a patient, one of your new patients today. Did you have one that was an extremity patient?
I did not. I had two spinal patients and I had a headache patient. So a headache patient, I mean, So I treated an internal medicine doc, and he texted me yesterday. Could you please get this patient in for me as soon as possible? And she got headache, and so we got her. We squeezed her in today. I had a half-hour patient cancel, and that was enough. I said, well, we'll get her in. And again, she's had this for how long did she have? I think she had it for about a year. And unilateral facial head pain, neck and shoulder pain. And I
Right
mean,
there with that information, Dana, just with the location of symptoms, what did that mean to you?
you better check the neck. You're right, right. So that's a great question. So either, she's pretty unlucky and she's got a shoulder problem, a neck problem, and a head problem, or she's got one problem that can cause all three.
Right.
But if she had head only, I still, do that cervical exam. But she's been suffering for a long time with it, and she's working every day. She's solid citizen. And the only negative part about this is she's been suffering, suffering, suffering. She saw the doctor yesterday. That's what prompted his text to me. He gave her a new med. She always wakes up much worse. She woke up much better today because of this med. She didn't have the pain level she had,
Yeah.
but she did have this pressure behind her eye and in her face, and retraction with overpressure made it go away. Made it go away. Now, if she would have came in with 8 out of 10 pain and went away, I got her. I got her. She was still impressed. I mean, she said, she goes, it's amazing that I don't have that pressure now. So we abolished her face. She still has some neck discomfort, and she's going to come back in 2 days. But again, if you don't have MDT training, where do you start with these people? What's your thought process? Because you can think a million things, and that was always my frustration. There's a million possible sources of pain in any joint you want to talk about, the shoulder, the hip, where do you start?
Mhm.
And we got not only a good starting point, but that can, handle the vast majority of these patients that you're going to see.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, because headaches, right? Mysterious to so many clinicians, right? It's 300 and some odd possible diagnoses when you look at the International Headache Society, their classification. Like, really? You're going to figure that out? How about we do it? And that's why I started ranting to the patient. I go, where are we? Like, where are we? It's so frustrating that it hasn't gotten any better, that, you have tests and injections and this pill and that pill. How do we not rule the world at this point? How are we not number one? Do some of these, do some of this, if it changes, if it doesn't, you can have more. How are we not the first person? How come I'm always the last person? Do you see? You've had the chiropractic, you have the injections, you have this pill, you see this test. Like, what, why not try the simplest thing first?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. And it's not a whole hell of a lot different than it was 31 years ago when I started teaching the classes.
Yeah. Dana, talk about that patient compared to, say, other headache patients you've seen that don't have a cervical or shoulder component or location of symptoms, and who may show initially you think, this is maybe true migraine, true cluster, true tension headache, and it's non-mechanical, and then you're kind of fooled by it. Can you think of any patients?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I got a composite for you in the sense that don't have to have neck pain, don't have to have shoulder pain for that headache to be cervical. No more than you have to have back pain for that pain in your leg to be lumbar, right?
Yeah.
So any head symptoms, you rule that you check that cervical spine. Um, you know, my thoughts on this are very, very simple. So cluster headaches, migraine headaches, tension headaches. So I'm familiar with the criterion that puts you in those three boxes, but none of those boxes are structural diagnoses. The migraines can be cervical, the tension headaches can be cervical, and the cluster headaches can be cervical.
Yeah.
So again, you're talking to a simplistic person. I think a migraine headache is just a bad headache. It becomes to a severity where you start getting all kinds of different symptoms. The intensity reaches a point where it's just, get all kinds of goofy symptoms. So I've seen those be cervical. I fixed some of them, and some of them I can't. And my thought process is no more than, unless the red flag questions are an issue, right? If the red flags and questions then we got to get you to the appropriate guy to do the appropriate testing. But if there's no red flags, it's cervical or it's not. So out of those 300 and some odd diagnoses, I know one of them. I know the cervical component. So I'm going to tell you, I'm either going to rule that out or I'm going to be able to help you. And if it's not, you got to go somewhere else. I'm not sophisticated enough to figure that out. But fortunately, so many of them are
Yeah.
cervical. So many, regardless of what the patient's been told, no different than the patient who tells you I've got sacroiliitis or I've got myofascial syndrome or facet joint pain or what do we call them? What classification do we put them in? So, sinus headaches, tension headaches, allergies, food allergies, all these different things I've been able to shut off right in front of our eyes. It's just like everything else. If it gets better over time, we assume the treatment was what did it. So, I stopped eating this and it seemed to get better, or, Ron Donaldson used to talk about rubbing a Chiquita banana on your forehead. Do that every hour, and in 2 months, 90% of the patients will be better. That's when we used to think 90% were better in 2 months, right? And this banana trick really works. Um, but if you can change it right in front of your eyes, you either have one hell of a psychological hold over that patient, or it truly changed it, right? Patients will take their pills, early in the day, and they'll come in and they had pain when they walked in, and you put them through the moves, and they go, well, it's gone now, but I took those pills early. I go, and it just kicked in right now? Right now when you did that move? Well, let's bring it all back. Let's bend you the other way, and then let's make it go away again, like to show them, but it's people's thoughts are just kind of wild to me. So headaches, I've seen a lot of them. I like talking about them. I think it's poorly understood, but it's very simplistic to me. We can either change them or we can't. And if it's not, I don't propose to know what it is.
You find more that need repeated or more sustained?
Sustained, yep. It's just I think you teed that up for me. You know the answer to that. I think that's what we teach, right? I mean, start with intermittent, because you never want to make a headache worse, right? You don't want to make anybody worse, but that headache you could put into another stratosphere. So always start with intermittent tests, and sometimes it works. But this way, if you're getting a red light, you get a little bit of a red light, as opposed to jacking them up in a sustained position, and it's really red. So always intermittent stress, always safer than static, but more often than not, you're going to hold them in a sustained position with overpressure to get the reduction.
Yeah. Have you seen some that respond to protrusion?
Um, I I I want to say yes. I want to say yes and say, oh yeah, I've seen those guys. I haven't. I haven't, which is completely contradictory to Brian Mulligan. He sees those. He says, now maybe there's different ways to get some of these going. I don't know, but it's big upper cervical flexion.
Yeah.
For the upper cervical problems, or rotation, or a combination of.
Yeah.
But I can't say I've seen that. That's the last step I teach, right? So flexion, rotation, combinations of those. If unresponsive, look at extension. But I don't recall seeing now that lower cervical spine can cause occipital headache, right? So that secondary headache, primary neck pain, retraction and extension, I've seen headaches go away.
Yep.
Certainly I have. But I haven't seen the upper cervical extension respond.
Excellent. Thanks for feeling that. And thanks for talking about headaches. It's important, I think. And it's probably an area where people would never think to come to a therapist.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And it's really, I always say it's that doctor, because I've treated him, a couple other doctors that I've treated. He'll send me abdominal pain, where, chest pain, where the heart and the GI guys have cleared him. He'll send, because he knows me, right? But other than that, no one wants to be bothered with us. No one wants to be. They're not interested in what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I want you to think about a patient that you've seen today, and while you're thinking about it, I'm going to make a shameless plug here for what we got going on with the podcast here. Think about a patient that you've seen a couple of visits. There's a marked improvement, 60, 70, 80% better, and then second, third, fourth, fifth visit, they just kind of plateau, and you haven't seen the progression to finish off that problem. Did you see any of those today? Chew on that 1 second. I'm going to make some case conversations. You joined us 10 years ago. Did you know it was about 10 years ago?
Is it really?
Yeah, and we talked about an SI joint paper, or SI patient, or a patient with SI joint region symptoms. And you mentioned Dreyfus 96 and how. So
I still talk about those. I still talk about those papers. Those are good papers.
There they are, and they're old, so you start reaching out to these authors, and they're like, oh, I've that's so old, well, still it's valid, and it's important.
People are people.
So so we're constantly putting out more cases. We just released a bunch of those old originals now on our new platform, so everything's listed out there. So if people want to read or hear you guys who've done this for centuries, talk about it and explain a good patient case. Check out case conversations at mechanicalcareforum.com. All right. Any patient that you've seen today where you saw a good improvement and they plateaued?
At the risk of being redundant, it's the patient I was talking about who operated a chainsaw. I thought I was going to
Oh,
land the
yeah.
plane with him,
Yeah.
but you know, he's
So, so
really
in
the
that
guy.
case, yeah,
I'm
in that
sorry.
case though, Dana, it's not that you failed to get that the symptomatic response or the mechanical response in the clinic has changed. It's not that anything's changed about that. It's about he's getting better and then he gets himself back in a poor way again.
Yeah, right. But from visit to visit, he's not
Yeah,
improving. Yeah,
yeah,
and I don't think it's a lack of mechanical understanding on my part. I
yeah.
don't th- I don't think I'm missing something. I don't think he went from anterior to posterior. And none
Yeah.
of that. Nothing. None of that's changed. It's just as we were talking earlier, the psychology of it, how to get him to do what he needs to do. And
Mhm.
I've said that to patients. I go, can I tell you? And he's not being compliant in the sense that he's trying to bang out his press ups. He's trying to sit with better posture, but he gets into trouble at work. He's better on the weekends, unless until this past weekend. But he's better off moving around, even if he is doing yard work. He gets into trouble at work. So I said, listen, I'm cheap by nature. I go, don't go invest in a standing desk, but jerry rig something. Get some boxes. See if you're better standing at that. And if you're better standing, buy it. He owns a business. I go, buy yourself a standing desk. 2 weeks. Have you tried it? No, still hasn't gotten a standing desk. Still, I like. How
So
do I get
there's a psychological issue there where a patient is, I know I should, but I just can't, or I just,
right? And that's where I'm trying. As we talked earlier, it's less of the nuts and bolts of MDT, and now because I can't go home with them.
yeah,
I can't go home with them. But I've told patients when I go to bed tonight, I'm going to sleep like a baby. My conscience is clear, man, clear. I've done everything I can think to tell you to do every way. So this is on you. This is your problem. As harsh as that sounds, this is not my problem. This is
yeah,
your problem.
yeah,
I've told patients now, and this is not the guy because he really isn't. He's I think in all honesty, I think he's too normal from here up. Like I need to make him a little more anxious.
mm,
He's like, this stuff's got to get done. Who's going to do it? I go, it's got to get done today. It could be done next week when you're feeling better. But
yeah,
but I've told patients, I go, and this sounds cold and harsh too, but I go, do you think anyone cares? Well, if you're lucky, your wife or your husband might care. But sometimes they don't even care. This
yeah,
is your problem.
yeah,
Everybody, they sound so well-meaning. How's everything? How's your back? How's your, is it? And then when they walk away, they're gone. You're out of their thoughts. They got their own issues. This is your problem.
yeah,
When are you going to take responsibility for your problem?
yeah. And I thought you were going to go down the route of being harsh or whatever, saying that I don't know that you're hurting enough.
Well,
When people are really hurting a lot, they do
well,
exactly what they say, which
yeah.
is,
Well, there was another patient that's probably more appropriate today, and she's again good solid citizen too. I treated her husband. She came in today. It's her third or fourth today, and you know, abolished pain on day. Mother of three small children, and that's the issue. And she just was so impressed. Her pain went away. So happy on the second visit. Came back on her last visit. Wasn't quite as regular with her exercises because she was feeling better. Again, human nature kicks in. She's normal. She's running around. Same thing today. Now she's 80% better on her second visit, but 80% last visit, still the same today. And she goes, I got to say, there's probably been a couple of days. I probably didn't even exercise until the end of the day when it started bothering me. But then I did it and made it better. And so, as you say, she'll be the first to tell you, wasn't hurting enough, feeling better. She's had this for a couple of years. And so, now she's got a tool to make it go away. She's not afraid of it.
yeah,
She's not afraid. If I start hurting, I can make it better. But I got to teach her. We got to land the plane, get it out of your life. As long as it's simmering, it can be bad. It can
yeah.
get bad. So yeah, those can be real frustrating patients when you think you've got the mechanical answer and you're just trying to turn that light bulb on in the patient. And I'll tell them, I go, listen, in good conscience, I can't keep dragging you back here. You're not getting better. What are we doing for you? If you were going somewhere else and you're like, oh, I'm 5, 6, 7 visits into it, they do the same thing every time and I'm not getting better. I said, you're wasting your money. Stop. I've told patients after going, I told someone today, they're going to see a chiropractor for, actually, it was the headache patient. She's going to chiropractor for her back. She's asking me about her back. I go, let's fix your head. If I fix your head and you think I'm the miracle man, we'll get to your back. I go, is the chiropractic helping? She goes, I go, why are you going back? She goes, I know. Why am I going back? And I said, I don't know. You're the one going. She goes, I asked him. I go, how long is it supposed to be? Yeah, you got a lot going on. If you're not getting better, don't go. And I would expect, I feel the same about me. I want to, I don't take, as much as I like to joke, I don't take what we do as a joke. I put a lot of time, effort into getting good at it. I don't think it's romper room and we're all going to come and play together. All the patients have it. It's like, oh, it's their social hour. I take it. You're here to get better. I want to help you. I have a service to provide. And if I can't help you, let's get you on to someone who can. Listen, I think this is what you need to do. You're not doing it. Go see someone else. Maybe you need a hot pack. Maybe you got to lie in a hot pack for 20 minutes. I don't know, but I don't have the answer if this isn't getting better. And I'm at that point and fortunate enough now where, yeah, if you're not in that spot, someone else will be there. I don't have to keep dragging you back here to pay my bills. I want to help the people that I can and that want to be helped.
Mac was known to fire patients. Have you ever fired a patient?
I fired a few, and but I threaten patients a lot. Like, don't make me fire you. Like,
Really?
don't make me fire you because
What's the scenario where you'll say that?
they're not doing their exercises,
Okay.
or they'll keep asking me the question. I go, am I that bad of a therapist? I've explained this to you 5 times already. Am I that bad, really? Well, it's like they're not paying attention. They're not doing it. And I say, listen, I have to consider self-preservation at this point. You're not going to make me crazy. You're not going to force me to an early retirement. I go, you are. I am going to fire you if you don't start doing this. And I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a once a day conversation with
How often does it work, and how often does that backfire?
So I haven't had it backfire that I'm aware of. Like you and I were talking earlier. I think patients usually sense there's some humor in it, because there is some, but there's also a tinge of seriousness. And I want to make them see the reality of this too. Like if I could kick you in the back and make you better, I promise I would do it. The ego gratification I would get, I would do it. There's just really, I mean, if there was a fix like that, I would do it. It's just that's not your problem.
Yeah.
You got to do this regularly. You got to do it often. I go, I'm not waiting for visit 24 to give you the good stuff. It's like I'm not dragging you along so you can pay my bills. Let's get this thing fixed. I want it better fast. I mean, I really do. I don't have to see patients for X amount of time to pay the bill. Let's get as fast as possible. You came to see me. Someone told you good things about me. Like I need to keep that reputation going. Let's fix you.
Yeah. Yeah. Dana, some suggest that, well, here's an observation I've made. When I see patients out in the grocery store or at Walmart or wherever, and you bump into, hey, Joe, how you doing? Oh, good. How's the shoulder? Almost invariably, they'll say, man, as long as I just keep doing my exercise, I seem to be pretty good and I stay good. Yet Larry, when he calls me and says, hey, Jason, I need your help again, and I'll ask, well, what's going on? He'll say, well, it's my knee again. That's what I saw you for before. Are you still doing your exercise? Almost invariably, they all say no. And when the pain stopped, I stopped, right?
Yep.
So my question is, do these managing a dysfunction, a derangement, postural, some of our other categories, subgroups and other, are we curing folks? Or are we just teaching them self-management?
No, I think we're curing them as much as somebody could be cured. We're all human beings. I am not immune to back pain or neck pain. However, it starts creeping up on me a little bit. Boy, clean that posture up, get on my exercises more often. I say this to this point, knock on wood, but I'm never going to have any significant back or neck pain. If I do, it better be a result of a fall down the stairs or a car accident, because there's always warning signs, right? So no one's immune to it. I've had minor little things. So to expect patient X or Y to think they could go through their life pain-free, I think that's ridiculous, So, but if you have a little something coming on, you should be able to keep it going. I think we're curing. Everybody's 1 minute away from having a problem. One bend, one twist, one turn, right? But usually preceded by warning signs. So if you've never had a problem, you're cured. So or you're normal, you're good, whatever you want to. At some point, you're going to feel something. In this lifetime, you're going to feel something. Do you know what to do about it? So yeah, I think we're as good as new. You reduce the derangement, you recover function. Adams and Hutton in their first or second paper must have been where they looked at CAT scans, repeated flexion of a cadaveric motion segment, and they documented the deformation of internal melee, the breaking through, and ultimate extrusion. So repeated flexion appeared to be the mechanism for disc herniation, posterior disc prolapse. And in the discussion article, it said discs that herniated in life were no more likely to herniate than virgin discs under this mechanical testing. And I don't hear a lot of people talk about that except me. And that's because people say, am I prone to have this happen again? Am I as good as new? I think you're better than somebody that never had it happen. Even though when you add up the numbers, you're more likely. I go, yeah. But somebody who's never had your problem, they're not going to do what you're doing. They're not going to regularly reverse the stresses in their back. They're not aware of warning signs. I think we're fixing it. But it happened in the first place for a reason prior to them ever having a problem. So why would we think it's not going to happen again if they don't do what they're supposed to do, right? So yeah, I think we're fixed. Some people we can't, not everybody. Some people we can give tools to manage much better. And I think a great example of that is a stenotic patient. I've cured it. You've probably cured it, where they go back to walking 3 miles with their wife or husband, and it's like it never happened. Done that. But I've also only had partial response where, yeah, their standing walking tolerance is better. They now have tools. They know they can manage it much better, but you can't fix it. But we can't change the bony architecture, right? And if it's to a certain degree, management is best we can do. But I think we should take a shot at it and do as good as we can. And yeah, I think we fix patients by and large are capable of it, but some we can't. There are problems beyond our scope for sure. But listen, I am not going to be hard on me or us because surgery doesn't fix everybody. That's the ultimate mechanical treatment, right? And that doesn't fix everybody. And some people are worse. And people, if we follow the system, they're not worse when we're done with us. We can say maybe we can help you, but they're not going to be worse. So I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to talk to you about mentoring. You've got clinicians that you guys have hired and had, and you probably somewhat intentional, you and your partner, I'm sure, are intentional about, okay, how can we create an environment that encourages people to want to do better and
Yes.
just motivates them. And then on the flip side, if you had to go back and think, okay, what did I receive when I was mentored by Wayne or by whomever?
Yep.
What would you suggest for those that are early on in their career? While you're thinking about that, I'm going to mention real quickly that other resource, Inside the Science. It's our scientific research summary and discussion with the authors. We're now finished up 8 seasons, so we're spotlighting all different kinds of studies. We just had Peter Malieris, who's quite known in tendinopathy world, to talk about both patellar tendinopathy as well as some shoulder papers. So if you're having trouble keeping up with the literature and you want to get some quick audio version of that where you can just hear that, plus hear some discussion by the authors themselves, you can check out Inside the Science at Mechanical Care Forum as well. All right, so mentoring, how do you motivate, how do you foster an interest in your younger clinicians that you're taking under your wing?
Yeah, so it's great. It's a great question, and maybe I could do better. But interestingly enough, there was a therapist, Allie, from Rome, New York, which is about hour away. She spent the day with me today. I always make that offer on courses. Periodically, people hang out with me. I am happy to have people. I mean, my God, if you want to take a day out of your time, your personal time, and spend time with me, I am happy to teach you because I mean, you're happy to do it. People have to take it upon themselves. It's their responsibility, to learn and to get better. You want to learn, contact someone that can help you. Contact somebody with more time, more experience, somebody you've seen that's impressed you. My door is always open. So the therapists that we work with, they're with me each day. Now that, everyone's busy, everybody is busy. So we don't have a lot of, now our one office I worked at for 25 years. I've been at a new office now for the past 2 years, which is just, a mile from the house, which is nice. So I spent a lot of time with the people on James Street. So they've seen me treat patients. They were, with me. Lauren I think she's been here 16 years now. She's been through all the classes, credentialed. Matt, we just celebrated Matt's 20th anniversary with us. He's credentialed.
Wow.
So I'm very fortunate. And but it's not a lot of spending time with me, but questions about patients, come see me, spend time. Everybody's welcome. You don't even have to work for me. You want to spend time. I have people in this city who spent time with me. I don't take that as a threat. It's not like I have secrets to keep. You want to see how you think this should be done well. I'm happy to show you. Um,
Yeah.
but we encourage everybody to get through the classes, get credentialed, and just working side by side each other. Hopefully, you see the way it's supposed to be done. The other thing is, Michael and I, when we were together, we're real competitive too, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. So, and I like that, man. I think that brings out you want to learn, you want to get better, you want to show somebody what you can do, and so I think that helps too. I mean, you want to get better. Do you want to get better? Do you want to? Why are you doing this? Are you doing it for the patient? Yeah, that's obviously number one. But the satisfaction you get. Like I like being the guy. Like I want to be the guy. This is the guy to go see. That means the world to me. I don't take it lightly, and I've worked a long time for that to be the case. And so I want other people to like. I want that. Like, how come? How come? And I've had the conversation with my therapist. I've seen somebody in the past for their back, and now they're on my schedule for balance. Well, not to minimize that. That's not what I do. I don't want to do that, and I'm not all creative about it. So they're not going to be on my schedule. So you're going to see this one, you're going to see that one. And if you feel like I'm kind of pushing things off on you, well, guess what? Give patients a call and ask for you for the stuff you want to do, whether it's back or neck or vestibular or whatever, right? Build your reputation, and then guess what? You won't have places on your schedule, you won't have gaps in your schedule, and you have your patients. So, like, I'm all about do what you want to do, get as good as you can at it, and you'll reap the benefits of it. Sounding like a very old man now. My problem is everybody wants that now.
Yeah.
And it's taken a long time. I mean, I don't take much time out of the clinic, as a business owner. You got to kind of be there. And I've been doing it for a long time. And so now, you start to reap some of the benefits. I'm still working just as hard as everybody else, but, seeing the things I want to see that I'm good at, not seeing the things I don't want to see. And people ask for you. You got two steps in the right direction already. They come in with confidence, and those things happen. And they happen over time, and they happen for everybody over time. But it just doesn't happen like this. And I remember being real frustrated real early on too, thinking that I, knew more than I was being given credit for. And don't I have those benefits? And why aren't people asking for me? It just takes time to build, and it happens, but it takes time.
Yeah. Dana, I'm sure that if Wayne had seen something in you, he wouldn't have wanted to sell the practice to you if he saw the wrong things.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
hope so.
and I'm sure that he was intentional about some of the ways he was bringing you along.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
yeah,
What did
yeah.
what did you see? What do you think about when you were the mentee, when you were the one being mentored? What do you think of that reminds you of that was effective out of Wayne or whomever was your mentor?
Well, I'll tell you what, and this may be less with the clinic, but Wayne was never threatened by anybody else, and that like never gave me a lot of opportunities when I moved here. Introduced to this one, like he wanted me to make it work, and Michael as well. I mean, we're equal partners. He wanted it to work. He wasn't threatened by us. Wanted it to go well. And this is when we were employees,
Hmm.
right? And uh, and so it worked out real well when it did come time to buy it because nothing really changed. Michael and I were the only ones in the office. Wayne and Gene were doing their carrier thing. And that's when I first met Wayne as well. I didn't know Wayne. I took my classes from him, but never spoke with him, never asked him a question. And so when I went to New Zealand and came back, I called him. I said, listen, I have the diploma. I'd like to, be an instructor. He goes, well, I'm teaching a course in New Orleans next month. If you want to come help me, you can come help me. I go, okay. I was really nervous to say yes, but like, this is my opportunity, right? It's now or never. He goes, why don't you teach procedures? I'm okay. All right. And I did, and and I did that for a little bit, followed him around, and I remember he said, "You should meet more of the faculty. They need to see because we didn't have a formal process.
Right, right.
I'm the only one who thinks good things about you. Everyone's going to have a say in this thing." And I called someone and I said, "Listen, I've been teaching with Wayne. He thinks I should be exposed to more of the faculty. Can I come help you out?" He goes, "No, no." He goes, "We don't have anything formal. There's no formal training. No." And the contrast in how I was handled, struck me like, here's somebody who wants to help me, wants to help MDT. So as you say, maybe he saw something in me like he would be good for the Institute, right?
Yeah.
Is thinking big picture as opposed to somebody infringing on my piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Because that's how I took it from the other end. Nope, can't. Well, if I can't, well, how come I am, allowed here, So it just and I've tried to emulate that as best I can. Somebody's got something to offer the Institute. I want to help them along if I can. If somebody's got something to help our office, let's bring them along. Let's help them. Let's them be successful as they can, and in turn, we're going to be successful. And if you think are the man, they're not going to harm you in any way, right? Help them, and it's a good reflection on you. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. He was very helpful in bringing me along. Never threatened. Saw the big picture for things, and it worked out good. He got to sell the office, which he wanted to do. I think I've been a good ambassador for the McKenzie Institute, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Nobody else was giving me. Now, I've had others. Dan Kelly was a big mentor too. But Wayne was my biggest influence. I taught the most courses with him, but Dan helped me in a lot of ways you should give him a shout out.
Maybe that person listening out there who's trying to connect with someone that they see as being a potential mentor, but the reciprocation is just not there.
And it may not be. And you know what? Ask for somebody else. Because if the first guy I asked, if I thought no one else was going to help me, then I'd never be an instructor. I just got lucky that the first guy I asked said yes. So if you're not getting the help, whether it's a faculty member local, a diplomat local, a credentialed person local, ask somebody else for some help.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I've got to make this left turn one more time on my drive home. It's a long drive home. So I appreciate you joining me. Thanks for taking time after a long day of working. I've
always enjoyed talking with you. I appreciate it.
I've worn you out even more. So now you really won't want to talk when you get home.
All right. Listen, thank you so much, Jason. It's always fun.
Thanks, Dana. Have a good night.
All right, brother. You too.
All right. Take care.
And there you go with episode 407 with Dana Greene. I could listen to Dana for a while. I'm sure you could too. His down-to-earth disposition and his hilarious slant on the routine daily happenings in the clinic are priceless, in my opinion. So thank you, Dana. Don't forget about our sponsors, Atlas Health, a more precise and professional way to deliver exercise and education to your patients. If you use end-range, repeated movements, and sustained positions, and you teach patients to test and retest their motion, and you're still using pictures from Google, hand-drawn stick figures, or even your patient's phone, welcome to the 21st century and get your first 25 patients exclusively for free here at MCF. Go to atlashealthx.com/MCF. Click to sign up and enter your information and the code ATLASMCF25. And our other sponsor, Therafa. If you could use a better way to intake your patients, gather the relevant information before the patient even arrives, and make you more efficient, check out Therafa and take advantage of his generous offer of 2 months for free. You'll find that special deal at therafa.com/join/MCF. All right, thanks for coming along with our ride today. Be sure to come back next week and hang out with our next guests on the ride home for more of sharing experience for improved patient care.